Hello and welcome, everyone. A very warm good evening on a Saturday evening. I hope you've got your tea and coffee mugs ready because we are going to have a very interesting conversation today on the Dee Show. Let me first tell you that all these opinions are, of course, going to be personal opinions, and I invite authentic leaders on my show to talk about the challenges that they face and what contributes to their success. Everyone talks about successes, but some difficult conversations that we have in our life are all the failures and challenges that we face. Now, what have these successful leaders done to overcome that? And I think there's a lot of hidden learning right there. I'm pretty confident that each one of you will have some key takeaways which will be relatable and applicable to your lives. So during the course of the show, don't forget to tune in, subscribe, as well as ask away your queries. If you don't have questions, you can give me your feedback, and I'll be very happy to take these live conversations as part of my show. Today on the show, I have invited someone who is a very successful doctor, an MBBS, MD, and also an entrepreneur now successfully running his own startup in an industry which has been clouded with a lot of judgment. Well, today I'm hoping that he will be uncovering a lot of myths, a lot of fallacies, and a lot of do's and don'ts from the world of clinical trials. With the pandemic, we have been surrounded with a lot of questions. What should have been done and what shouldn't have been? And we all have had our near and dear ones suffer because of COVID. Now, this is one doctor who decided to be one amongst the top 2025 agencies, or rather, not an agency, I would say companies in our country who are sanctioned to run clinical trials. And I think it would be best to hear from him about his perspectives and about his knowledge so that we can also get more aware and build our knowledge about what does it take to run a clinical research organization. Without any further ado, I'd like to invite here very proudly none other than Dr. Neel Lahoti. Hi, Neel. Welcome to the D Show.
Hello, hello, Dr. Lee. Pleasure. Thank you for inviting me here, and it's appreciate the invite. And looking forward to interesting conversation today.
Thank you so much for actually being on the show because I tried many entrepreneurs who were leading organizations which are into clinical trials. But the good part is that somebody as dynamic as you, as young as you were open to talking about these difficult conversations. So, a salute to your spirit and thank you for being on the show. It means a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Well, we already have our viewers and audiences tuning in. Apurva is saying good evening and welcome, Dr. Neel and our Dr. D. So, Dr. Neel, I'm going to start with a question that what was your first challenge? It would have been so easy for you to open a clinic or a hospital. And I see doctors, they have done very successfully well during the pandemic because we all needed doctors. You could have been a consultant with the names of the world leading hospitals. But you chose not to go down that path. I mean, how did it start?
Yeah. So, first of all, good evening to all of the audience, all the viewers who are seeing this, and thank you for taking your time. So it's a very interesting question actually. Clinical trials and clinical research is not something which a doctor would normally, choose as a career path. Normally, as you said, the doctors would like to have a hospital set up or be associated with other big hospitals and treat patients. So where I this actually happened during my internship. So I was involved in a clinical trial during the internship, and at that moment I just I felt that a doctor definitely is treating the patients, but all the patient pool and the people who are impacted by a doctor are from the local areas. For example, a doctor in Pune will get most of his patients from Pune itself. But I was involved in a global trial then. So in the trial, I understood that the impact a global clinical trial has, and that particular drug can impact all of the people around the world. So I thought, let us explore this domain. And during this, when I explored this, I realized that there is a specialization which helps us, conduct clinical trials or to be a specialist of clinical trials. So I did my MD in that. So it was always a focused
Wow.
decision. Yeah. So basically, I was always focused on this, and I guided my all the decisions which I took later on in my career were focused to starting my own organization only. So yes, it was a big challenge to deviate from the routine, but I always found challenges exciting, and I thought, why not? Because you can always get fall back to treating patients, but to create some global impact, to be involved in something global is always a chance which I couldn't refuse. So I thought, let's be the technopreneur here. Try to be
I
a
know.
technocrat or whatever you call it. So I was trying
No,
to start something.
I am, when I met you and I got to know about this story, and
Yeah.
I think you did tell me that you started your company pre-pandemic. Tell
Yes,
me,
I.
how was that experience? I mean, you walked into pandemic with successes or challenges of running a CRO organization?
Yeah, so yeah, that was an unforeseen challenge which I was not, which I was not prepared to handle actually until it happened. So yeah, we started this in 2018, but by the time we got our license, it was July 2019. So we need a central government approval, to go ahead. So we it was July 2019, and then as you all know, March 2020 the pandemic struck. So we had just started our operations in November, and then just as we were taking our baby steps, pandemic struck. So the biggest challenge was I did not know how we are going to conduct the trials, or what do we do next, because all the logistics were completely shut down. So our being a human trial or human clinical trials, our most important connect with the patients is through the logistic, because we need the people. We do the trials only on the people, right? The humans are the participants in the trials, and without them, without access to our patient pool or without access to our volunteers, we would, I mean, there was no way out. But slowly what happened is, luckily, we did get a COVID trial in which we started off, and due to being a participant of the COVID trials, we had a few special permissions considering that. Along with that, we slowly started work again. We got a few other clinical trials, and we started working on our logistics, and then we started connecting with people remotely, and we took a few permissions from the government. So I was actually dealing with the permissions from the government agencies, managing the logistics of my team, ensuring the finances of the company are able to secure it, because that was a time when there was no incoming, I mean, I would say there was no income for the company, because all our trials had stopped. So we just generated another revenue stream in terms of COVID trials, and we got involved in a few other trials, like some few medical device trials also, which were involved in COVID. So somehow we survived that. But then as June and July came in, so we the by God's grace, I would say, as June and July came in, there was a huge backlog of trials. Okay, so we became doubly busy when the restrictions were slightly lifted.
Oh,
So in
wow.
fact, yeah. So in fact, we had to expand in November 2020 itself, and again we have expanded in November 2021. So
No, but tell
yes,
me that how many months did it take for you to get the first project? Was it
it took me.
immediate?
No, it was not immediate. What happened is, I got my approval in July and 29th of July, so you can consider August. So August, September, October, and November was the time I got my first trial, because our field is very regulated. Actually, what happens is, even if you get the license, it's not like you can start practicing from the next day. Whenever you want to participate in a trial, you are audited by the company who's giving you the trial as well. So there is this gestation period of the being audited, and then applying for the license to conduct the trial in the government, and it takes a little bit of time. There is
Wow.
again, yeah, there is again this. So the government approval timeline is the one which took time for us. But yes, from November onwards, we have been working continuously. November 2021. Yes.
So give us a deep insight. How easy was it to get the government approvals for trials?
It was not. It is. It is not easy, but I would like to say that the Indian government has done a fantastic job, actually, of modernizing the permission process for clinical trials. So they have this Sugam portal which helps, which helps in applying online, and they have managed to beautifully streamline the process for the trials, along with involving the experts. So there is a subject expert committee which is involved in approving the trials. So they have the technical input as well, who are helping us out, or who actually assess the trial and the requirements of the trial and what all is needed, or whether the design of the trial is perfect or not. So it is a big challenge, but the government has beautifully streamlined the process now. So it is all available online. So we do have a specific timeline for most of these approvals, and we can plan our studies accordingly.
Interesting. Before I understand the process, because I've
Yeah.
always been quizzed about, clinical
Yeah,
trials,
yeah, yeah. Yes.
Covaxine, Covishield. There was so
Yeah.
much rumor in the industry.
Yes.
Let
Yes.
me take the first question here. Doctor,
Yeah.
are there some eligibility criteria for participating in trials? Because obviously we all have people in the family who are at critical health juncture where sometimes we need to consider clinical trials. So
Yes.
what are the
Yes.
criterias?
Yeah, so basically, what I would like to say is, the trials are designed particularly depending on the condition for which they are, you know, for the disease condition for which they are to be implemented. For example, if I'm testing a drug which is related to bringing the blood sugar level down, so basically diabetes. So if any drug is to be used in treating diabetes, the trial is then designed according to the diabetic protocol, or to according to the patients who are eligible to be participating in the study. So basically, for example, if you are trying a molecule which is anti-diabetic, then what I will do is, I will there is a particular section which is called as inclusion and exclusion criteria. So this particular inclusion and exclusion criteria is what actually determines how a subject is selected for eligibility in clinical trials. Okay, so for a diabetic trial, my inclusion criteria will generally have that a patient should be suffering from diabetes, his HbA1c and his blood sugar level value should be above a certain limit, and other things, and he should not be suffering from other diseases like hypertension, like that. So there is going to be multiple. So designing a clinical trial is not an easy task, but yes, so there is a protocol which we follow. So this is
Okay.
for anti-diabetes. Similarly, it will be for cancer. Okay, so if there is a study for breast cancer, we will involve patients who are only suffering from breast cancer. We will not
Right.
be involving patients who are having another cancer. So this is how the eligibility is decided. So generally, it is how we do that, through the inclusion and exclusion criteria, which is actually designed specifically related to the disease for which the drug is designed or designed
And
to
how
cure.
much of an influence do hospitals have on this? Or is it completely your organization's decision to take the
No,
people
no, no.
for
So how it
participation?
works is, no, no, no. We just design the protocol. Okay. So now
Okay.
this protocol or this inclusion exclusion criteria then goes to the central government for approval, where the subject expert committee reviews our protocols. And if they have some suggestions, they do give it. Or if they are fine with the protocol, then they give a go ahead. After which, we get the NOC from the government for conducting the trials, which is conducted in multiple hospitals. Okay, so these
Okay.
hospitals have so there is this entity called the principal investigator. So every hospital has a doctor who is responsible whole and soul for that particular trial. He's called as a principal investigator in the trial. So that principal investigator then screens these patients. Okay, so how we do is, the inclusion exclusion criteria is actually decided by the protocol, but how do we ensure that the subject fits into the inclusion exclusion criteria, right? How do we do that? So we do that by doing the blood test, the x-ray, the medical history, and all that. So there is a combination of all of it, and the data which is then generated is assessed by the principal investigator, and then he decides whether to enroll that patient into the trial or not. Okay, so that is how.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the doctor is a decision making authority there.
So I'm going to quickly take this question from Dolly. Asking how safe are these trials? I mean, so she's my mom, and I know she suffers from diabetes, and you gave a
Okay.
diabetes example, so I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's why she's curious. So
Yeah.
are all trials safe or not, in your opinion? Let's say
Uh,
out of 100%, how many do you think are safe?
See, actually, what happens is, we will go into trials. Trials are conducted in four phases generally. Okay, so phase one, phase two, phase three, and phase four. Generally, in the phase one study, we enroll a very small number of subjects on which we do the trial, or on which the drug is the new drug which is to be tested is actually designed, and the dose for that drug is identified. Okay, and that dose and the tolerable side effects are then identified. This data is then put to the regulatory authority, which then gives us a permission for the phase two trial. Now, phase two trial, you see how the drug is actually affecting the disease. So this is again, so phase one is done in maybe 15 to 20 people. So the phase two will be done between 100 to 200 people. And then when
Wow.
we go, yeah, so when this data is again analyzed, then you get the permission for the phase three trial, which is generally done in around hundreds to thousands, the patient pool, depending on the molecule. So what happens is generally the permission for each phase is only given after the data is analyzed. Okay, so
Okay.
the question here is whether the drug is safe or whether it is not, is already decided in the phase one studies. Actually, before the phase one studies, we do preclinical studies, which is done in animals. Animal models are
Right.
decided. Yeah, so
I've
for
seen it all in movies. Like me, I'm
yeah,
sure we all have seen this on movies.
yeah, I
And
guess you'll
how
have
much
seen.
we've seen too much on Netflix and movies. How much
Yes,
of it
yes,
is true? Netflix just recently had a very hit web series where they painted the clinical
yeah,
trials
yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah.
bad.
Yes, yes. I would like to congratulate the director for catching all the negative points. But actually, what happens is, what makes these series interesting is they are always going to explore the controversial points only, right? They are going to explore the controversies. But there are thousands
Absolutely.
of trials. There are thousands of trials happening. There are thousands of patients being enrolled every day in a trial, and
Right.
these trials do go through without any untoward incidences, because nobody wants to exploit any other human being just for the monetary gain. Because being in a human trial landscape, the responsibility for everybody's lives lies with the principal investigator and the organization as a whole. So nobody would like to do that. But what happens is, there was a time when when the controversies happened, that was a bygone era actually in clinical trials. Nowadays, as I told you, everything is online, everything is reviewed by experts. So it is not possible for anyone to survive long, even if they do try to take shortcuts. But it was the controversies will always happen, and the series will always concentrate on those controversies only, because nahi to aap bhi dekhoge nahi, there are not going to be any TRPs, right? If I tell you all the goody goody, yeah, we are doing, see, what happens is, if I show you actually what happens in a clinical trial, it's going to become a documentary. It will
Of
not be a
course.
TV series for you. Yeah, so it is just going to become like a documentary, like Discovery Channel is showing how the trials are conducted. So maybe people might, those who are interested might see that, but Netflix पे तो नहीं चलेगा वो. That is why.
थोड़ा मसाला
Yeah,
जरूरी है.
exactly. That is how it
So
is.
I know this is a technical question. Tushar is
Yeah.
asking, apart from the
Okay.
regular hemogram, during
Uh-huh.
COVID-19, an upward surge was noted for the prognostic
Yes.
biomarkers lab
Yes.
requisitions.
Yes.
Highest percentage was noted for CRP LDH D
LD,
dimer.
diamond. Yes.
ये
Yes.
1/2
Okay.
मतलब इसका एक और हिस्सा है, which is
हाँ, I
right
think इसका एक
here.
और हिस्सा होगा.
The
The trend
trend
decline and the
declined
trend flat.
as the trend flattened. How did you keep up with this challenging work trend? So you'll have to also dumb it down for all of us.
Yeah.
कि सवाल क्या
So
है?
I'll explain what I think he wants to tell you is, when we started with COVID. Okay, so COVID was a new disease or a new entity which nobody was aware of. Okay, so what people were doing is, people were planning. People were planning. They were basically diagnosed with COVID. Luckily, we did have the antigen test which came up fast soon enough, and RT-PCR capabilities were also developed by the country soon enough, to diagnose the patients. That was the biggest challenge we had earlier. But after diagnosing, the next challenge was, how do we treat these patients? How do we know what we are treating is helpful to the patient or not? Okay. So what happened is, they did a multiple diagnostic tests, during which it was observed that LDH, D dimer, these are the tests which were showing an elevation in COVID patients, and in non-COVID
Okay,
patients they were maintaining a reasonable level. So what these
okay,
did was, yeah. So these were then identified as markers, which help
right.
in diagnosing which help in evaluating how we are treating the COVID patient, whether the COVID patient is being treated better, or whether he's recovering or not. Okay, So
Right.
how did we identify this? Was it was all a trial and error in the beginning, but what we did was D-dimer and all. These are a few tests which we generally do in all infections. LDH is also done
Okay.
in case of infections. Okay, so these showed a different trend for COVID. So that is how they were identified, and that is how the doctors kept up with it. And as you can see that the hydroxychloroquine was also used as a treatment, which showed
Yes.
a little bit of effect. So these kind of trial and errors came up, and then a treatment regimen was finalized, which was then approved by all the doctors, and then it was taken ahead, and in which these diagnostic tests became a part of the routine COVID protocol. COVID
Okay.
treatment protocol. So that is how
Right.
we keep up with this, because treating a patient, any patient, right? A common cold can also be treated in different ways to a patient, but eventually, as you all know, common cold is self-resolving most of the times. It is just a viral infection which is self-resolving. Maybe after 2 3 days, some people it takes a little bit more. But actually, we are just treating the symptoms there, because there is the underlying the underlying disease is going to self-resolve after a few days.
That's
So
true.
we
But we
yeah.
all feel symptomatically a lot of relief when we are taking
Yes.
antibiotics and when we are
Yes,
taking
yes,
those
yes. Yeah, we are doing
cetrizides of
that.
the world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We are doing that. We are doing that because every drug addresses a specific issue of the disease. Right?
Right.
Cetirizine is going to help a different thing. Antibiotic coverage is going to help you from developing another infection. So you
So,
just you're doing all.
Surya Prakash is saying, hello, Dr. D and Dr. Neel. One question: do you always complete the trial, or is there a condition in which you need to halt the trial midway? Now,
Yes,
this is
yes, yes.
interesting because I'm going to add another part.
Okay.
With the COVID medicine, Covishield, there was a lot of buzz around that we fast
Yes,
tracked the trials and it's not
yes, yes,
safe. So I think these
yes.
questions are connected. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I frankly would not be able to comment on the Covishield and the Covaxin controversy, because I have not been able to see the data personally. If I would have got the chance, then I would have been able to comment. But yes, there were different mechanisms through which Covishield and Covaxin were acting. So obviously the trials were conducted differently. Different organizations being involved, like Covaxin was developed by AstraZeneca and Covishield by Bharat Vaccine. So there were different approaches to it, but the thing is, what generally happens in trials is, we do have a certain set protocol in which we do the trials, but the safety of the subjects is also monitored during the trials. Okay, so for example, anti-cancer drugs are generally having a lot of toxic side effects, but we do see it is a risk and reward, right? So
Right.
to treat cancer, you are going to be given some drugs which are going to kill those cancer cells, but those drugs are not just. I'm just dumbing it down for you, making it
Yes.
simpler for
No,
everybody to
it's
understand.
making sense to me. And
Yeah, yeah. So
to all our viewers, please give telling us if it's making sense to you as well,
yeah.
because I know he can help us understand it more in details.
Right. So we what we are doing here is, so the drugs are cytotoxic drugs is what they're called. So they are generally going to help in killing the cancer cells, but they're going to affect the other cells as well. So there is a certain side effect profile which is already there, inherent to these anti-cancer medications. Now what we have to do is we have to evaluate how much of it is helping the cancer and how much of it is damaging the patient. So some trials have these drugs. What happens generally is, as I told you, in phase one trials, we do absolutely evaluate the safety of the drug. Not We do not concentrate on whether the drug is treating the cancer or not, because you don't want multiple patients to be exposed to a drug which can harm them. Okay,
Right.
so that's why the
Right.
sample size is very less in the phase one trials. What happens is, if the data is promising, then we go to phase two. But obviously, being a small sample size means the number of patients which are enrolled. We cannot predict how the drug is going to affect the general population. So that is where the phase 2 and phase 3 trial comes in. Phase 3 trials are generally global trials, and there are multiple patients involved, and there are thousands of patients enrolled and thousands of sites. So what they do is, we generally don't restrict it to one ethnicity, one race. What we do is, we do global trials for this, for some drugs, because what happens is, Indian population has a different geography which they are dealing with, different genetics. Okay, so same way Americans, the Caucasians, the African Americans, the Hispanics, the Asians, the have all different genetics. So what generally phase 3 trials do is they try and enroll as much of a variety of population as we can to ensure that this drug is safe in all populations. Okay, so during this, if it is observed so sometimes phase 0 and phase 2 studies have a lesser duration of treatment as well. In phase 3, the duration of treatment is much more, maybe 1 year, 2 years also. So
But since
generally,
it is all regulated, have you
yeah.
been ever asked to leave something halfway?
Yes, exactly. So what happens is if the subject safety is being compromised in any of these stages, at any stage, and if it outweighs the risk, if the risk outweighs the benefit, definitely we are going to stop the trial midway, because we cannot risk,
Wow.
yeah, we cannot risk the health of the patients just to, just to
So,
get
I
the
mean,
results of the drug. Yeah.
365 days a year आप लोग ऑडिट पे ही रहते हैं क्या?
Yeah, we have to be ready. Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. We have to be audit ready. So that is one of the, yeah. So that is one of the stresses we have as a organization, research organization, which hospitals may not face or may not face.
Of
But
course.
obviously they are. But the hospitals are always dealing with the lives of the people every day. Same. We are also doing the same, but hospitals require continuous intervention. We have a different kind of intervention that way. So yeah, so it's a big challenge, but yes, the priority for any organization has to be subject safety or has to be patient safety. The lives of the humans matter more than anything else. Either result of the drugs, the anything else is secondary to the safety of the patient. Whenever that is compromised, that is the day you stop the trial. You do not go ahead with it.
Talking about
And
human safety,
yeah.
Murlidhar here is saying, can you take trials on horses other than humans?
So as I told you earlier, before any drug is
We
launched to
do
be tested in
animals,
humans, we do animal testing. Yes, and animal
but
models
are
are there.
horses included in that?
Horses are generally vaccines. In vaccines, we do
Okay.
horses. Yeah, horses are used in vaccine trials generally because to produce vaccines. So now that is it is outdated now. But earlier it was, for example, snake anti venom of the snake. We used to make the horse. The horse was bitten by the snake and the plasma was separated through which the anti venom was conducted because the anti venom was naturally produced in the horses. So yes,
Oh,
trials have
wow.
been conducting. Yes, so this is was one of the examples. But yes, every disease has a separate model of animals on which it will work. So generally we start off with rodents, that is the mice, the rats,
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
this, and
That's
then
why
it goes on.
I couldn't be a doctor because I couldn't even handle in my labs in school dissecting a mice. So God
No, no,
bless
no.
you. How you
Yeah,
how
yeah.
you
Again, then going in MBBS and MBBS and MDs again.
MD.
Yeah, वो तो फिर उधर that is a totally different topic. But yeah, to answer the gentleman's question, it is that we start off with rodents. We basically start off with cell lines and rodents, which is a smaller species. Then we go on to mammals, that is dogs, monkeys, and then if the
Okay.
data is sufficiently safe, or if it is
Right.
showing any effect, then only you go
Right.
ahead with human trials. And this data has to be presented to the regulatory authorities, who then actually evaluate the data whether it is worth giving permission to be tested in humans. It is not
Tested.
that easy. They are not going to let you, any company, even how big it is, if they do not have a satisfactory data in the preclinical stage, they're not going to let you go to the clinical stage anyways. So that is how it is. So we do that. Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. So doing trials in humans, in horses other than humans is not possible because we have to do the trials in humans before the drug is launched in the market. So
वो चाह रहे हैं
unfortunately,
कि सब सब पास हो जाए
exactly.
पहले एनिमल्स पे
Exactly.
फिर
Yeah.
इंसानों पे आए तो हम लोग बच जाएंगे.
No, that is
Well,
how it happens, but you never know how a drug is going to react in human bodies, right? Everybody has different biologies. The animals
of
have a
course.
different biology,
And
we
we
have different
noticed that in
biologies.
COVID, right? Everybody got vaccinated. People were having different reactions. Well, Daily Draw YouTube channel is actually congratulating you because you performed a study, and I didn't even know this. As a layman, all I knew was that this medicine wasn't available in the form of vaccination and it was very expensive. And I didn't know that oral solution existed.
Yeah,
So, this is
we
congratulations to you.
thank you so much, thank you so much. Yeah, we did do a study for oral remdesivir solution for one of our clients, and it was good, but now they are planning a bigger trial for it. So we
Oh,
did do a
wow.
little, yeah, yeah. So
So in coming
depending on
times, hopefully it'll become like, a very commonly available drug because
yeah,
right now it's still scarce.
Yeah, it is scarce, but the biggest challenge with remdesivir was that you had to, give it under hospital supervision only. So the plan of having oral remdesivir was that people at home can also take it. So those COVID patients who basically the biggest challenge during COVID again was finding beds, finding hospitals who are ready to take in patients. Right. So if,
Right,
if we can
right.
develop oral remdesivir, then we can provide the highest level of treatment at home itself. But
So
again, as I told you, the remdesivir data was again dicey a little bit, so I think that has slowed down.
I like the use of the word dicey. So I'm linking that to this question because
Uh-huh.
it says, Nitin is saying, how do the possible risks and benefits of these trials compare to
Compared
those
to
of the
those.
standard treatment?
Correct,
So
correct.
I'm gonna make one more part of this question, which I'm curious about.
Right.
That, for example, one medicine comes into the market, and I'm hoping it comes after a lot of approvals and trials, but
Right.
then it stays on for decades and
Yes.
generations. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
aren't we like in technology, we have to keep revamping the technology. There are
Indeed.
different versions. दवाइयों में ऐसा नहीं होता है क्या? मतलब वो
होता है.
डोलो ने तो डोलो की कंपनी
Dolo is still
फार्मास्यूटिकल कंपनी
Dolo. Yeah, Dolo is like yeah, Dolo Micro Labs Bangalore is the one which had
Correct.
Dolo.
They
They
made
did.
a
They did.
lot of money, I'm
They
sure.
did. They did make a lot of money. I think it did also invited the income tax rate, which was recently done on them. But yeah. So you don't know how it is. Yeah, but the possible risk and benefits. So what happens is you evaluate a drug by how effective it is. Okay. Now Dolo 650 is still effective in bringing down the fever of patients everywhere. I mean, Dolo is just the other name for Crocin. Okay,
Right,
so they both have
right,
the same contents. So what happens is Dolo 650 or Crocin 650 are the same molecule. The active ingredient pharmaceutically is the same. So
right,
these drugs are always going to be used till they're effective. Okay, but once these drugs are not effective, we do have to go for a newer line of treatment. For example, in antibiotics, we are always searching for newer antibiotics, or newer, more effective antibiotics because the old ones are already facing resistance from the molecule. So there's drug resistance, and over prescription is one big challenge which the doctors are facing now. But there are new molecules to help out with this. So what happens is, as you said, innovation is there everywhere. The same way innovation is there in the pharma field as well, with newer molecules coming in to target newer therapies. For example, if your mom is a diabetic, I think it was your mom, right? Who was a
yes,
diabetic. So she might have started with metformin, but now she might have been added with one of the gliptins or the other drugs, because
right.
slowly we are getting more efficient in the treatment of diabetes by actually impacting what causes the fluctuation in the blood sugar levels. So we are just trying to target it. So basically, we are just going to targeted drug delivery here. We are targeting,
Interesting.
and yeah, we keep the technology is going to those places where we are actually targeting what is causing the disease rather than treating the symptoms of the disease.
I was
So
going through your LinkedIn feed, and somewhere
yeah,
I think you had endorsed an article about insulin as a drug and not a vaccination. And I think diabetes has
as
become
an
a very
injection.
lifestyle, as an, oh,
Yes, yes.
yes. So
Oral
is there
insulin.
oral
Yeah,
insulin, right?
yeah.
So is there any progress? Are we going to
Yes,
have that
it
soon? Because
is.
that will help so many people.
Yeah, so just the article which you might have seen, that was the one in which the phase 2 trial of insulin got through, oral insulin. So now they are planning a phase 3 trial in which we'll actually know the effectiveness of oral insulin over a longer period of time, maybe 1.5, 2 years, maybe how they design it. So the benefit here would be that, as you know, insulin is to be taken by injection only. Right now
Yes,
insulin is available in the injection form, because when you take insulin orally, it degrades in the metabolism. What happens is, वो drug रहता ही नहीं है, it degrades by the time it reaches the GIT, so
right.
the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, so the thing is, we are the insulin is getting degraded then. So the biggest challenge was, how do we ensure that insulin is effective but not getting degraded even if we take it orally. So if we can develop that kind of formulation, what it takes care of is the compliance. People are scared. Nobody wants to inject themselves every day,
Of course.
right? In insulin, you have to inject yourself every day after meals or before meals, however the doctor prescribes it. But what happens is, we have to ensure that the people are taking the drugs by making it more convenient for them by increasing the compliance. So oral
Interesting.
insulin is a big step there.
Wow.
So that's why I had endorsed it, because it can be a game changer for diabetes, because insulin is singularly the most effective drug to control diabetes, because that is what we are lacking,
Absolutely.
due to which
Absolutely.
diabetes happens. Yeah. So
I
so
think
so
medicine stop working after a certain period of time. And like thyroid, diabetes has become a lifestyle disease with the increased stresses. I'm sure you see so many of them. So this
yes,
would definitely be a game changer. Bhau
right.
Sahib is saying, working with you for the clinical trial for
We
ionizer for
did.
deactivation of the coronavirus.
We had done that during the beginning of COVID. As I told you, we had worked on a medical device on which we
Right.
were that ionizer was their negative and positive ions were considered to make the air safe to breathe for COVID patients. So we were working on those. So yeah, so we worked.
I'm going to take this because it says babe studies. I mean, do we have babe studies in corona? What is
Oh,
babe?
I wish we had babe studies. They are not babe studies. They are actually BABE, that is bioavailability and bioequivalence studies. So as we
Okay.
were discussing, current till now the conversation was all on the patients and the drugs which were used to treat patients. But as
Right.
I told you already, as you said, there are molecules which have been in the market since ages. So these are generally called the generic molecules. They are not new ones. They're already there. So what happens is bioavailability, bioequivalence studies are those which are used, which are designed to test whether one generic molecule or is equivalent to the innovator. Okay. So what happens is, for example, if crocin was the first paracetamol in the world, every other person will have to develop his own formulation, which is then tested through bioavailability studies. So what we do is, eventually, basically, for example, if there is an X pharma company which is which is which is owning the paracetamol brand, once the patent expires, there are other pharma companies who want to want a piece of the pie, or who want to be involved. So what these companies do is they develop their own formulation, and after that formulation is developed, they actually test it against the innovator, against the person who actually innovator means the person who actually invented the drug or who holds a patent for it. It's a very basic level. So what we do is generic is compared against the innovator, and if it is found to be equivalent, that is the bioavailability and bioequivalence, it is found to be bioequivalent, then that person has the permission to launch it in the market. So that these are the generally bioavailability studies are generally conducted in healthy people. It is not conducted in patients unless it is a specific requirement for that particular drug. Generally, it is seen in anti-cancer drugs only be tested in patients, but all other drugs are generally tested in healthy volunteers only. So
Interesting.
yeah, so the interesting part here is the healthy people are participating in these studies.
In these studies.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Do they get paid?
Yeah, absolutely. They get paid as per the amount which is approved by the ethics committee. So this ethics committee or IRBs, institutional review boards, or independent ethics committees. These are the committees which are again approved by the central government to ensure that the trials are conducted ethically or not. Okay, so the ethics committee also
Right.
takes ownership in ensuring that the trials are conducted in an ethical manner. Because I had just read a question on the side which said, "What about the ethics in clinical research or something?" I just
Yes,
it
I
was
was about to come to that. Yes,
yeah, yeah.
ethics
So
is
so
a
so
huge question.
it is the biggest question, and for this, government has independent bodies who are doing that, monitoring that, as well as every institute which is doing a clinical trial has to have its own independent ethics committee, which is ensuring that the subject safety is paramount and not the
Wow.
commercial gain for the hospital. So they all are there to prioritize the subject safety and subject health. you know so these are the ethics committees which again ensure that. So all these molecules, all these generic studies which are done under the aegis of the ethics committee as well, along with the central government approvals. And if they are found to be equivalent, then you get a new player in the market, which eventually helps in reducing the costs, right? For example, agar remdesivir is from one pharma company and only one pharma company is making remdesivir, and if we do not have any competitor, then that person can that then they can charge you any amount, right? They can charge you any
Okay.
amount of money. So what
Okay.
these bioavailability bioequivalence guidelines do is they help in bringing another player into the market eventually, which takes down the cost for these molecules to the basic consumer or the patient. So that
But
is the
many,
biggest
many
advantage.
congratulations to you, because I was doing my research and my team told me
Yeah,
that you are one amongst the 2025
yeah,
companies only into this very specialized niche field in our
yeah,
country.
yeah, yeah.
I I
Yes,
hope
yes.
many more doctors start thinking like you and come over to the entrepreneur world like us.
Yeah, yeah, actually, most of the doctors are entrepreneurs in their own rights. Any doctor who starts a hospital is actually an entrepreneur as well, because he's actually running the hospital, and
Right.
obviously the financials have to be, basically taking care of the whole hospital. So he's actually an entrepreneur in his own right, because our doctor generally provides employment at any basic level to 15-20 people as well.
Sure.
But yeah, it all depends on the perspective of interest, and how you are placed, to take the risks. So yes, there are doctors who are already working in this field. It is not just me, but yes, by God's grace, I would say that I've got this opportunity to own one of these organizations, because I've always been focused on this, and obviously it's been my family who's helped me through this. But definitely, it just takes a lot of support to start your own business. Any startup for that matter. I think you have
Any
heard this
startup.
story many times. Yeah. Yes. So yes,
But
any startup again has its own challenges. Yeah.
talking about family, tell me about your sacrifice. I mean, yes, we are talking about professional challenges, but I want to know, and I want everybody to know that to be like Dr. Neel Lahoti, even he had to make a personal sacrifice. So, what was that?
I did have to actually. What happened is was I always was planning to start the CRO, as you know, since my internship and MD days. But I had planned this in 2015 actually, and in 2015 we got to know that my wife is expecting, so that is fine. I mean, people do, but then we got to know that we are expecting twins. So it was a big
Wow.
shock. Yeah, so it was a big shocker for all of us. So it was. I mean, I did not absolutely I did not know how to react to that news. So I was like, okay, now we have twins. So how do I do this? So I decided not to have one more baby. That is Synergen Bio. That by that time. So I actually
Exactly.
postponed. I actually postponed my startup. By 2 to 3 years, because I wanted to give the time to my kids as well, because I'm not going to have 2 year old a set of twins who are going to be 1 year old, 2 year old by the time. I mean, I can always start the company, but I will not have my kids being so young. I mean, I did not want to miss that. I did not want
Wow.
to miss
So
their
you
innocence.
actually invested like a hands-on dad. And I know to everybody out there, you should check him out on Instagram. His handle is so cute because it's dad underscore Neil. And
Yeah, yeah,
but had you started in 2015, you would
yeah.
have delayed a lot of challenges that you faced because
I
of the
did.
pandemic, because you guys got the runway only in 2019, and then 2020,
Absolutely.
bam, we had the pandemic here.
It would have. It would have. I mean, if I would have started in 2015, I do not know where I would have been right now. But I'm hoping that it was not too late, because I got to enjoy my children's childhood as well. But yes, it was a big sacrifice which I decided consciously, because I wanted to be there for my family during those times. And I was pretty sure my wife is not going to be able to handle both the kids on her own. So yes, and obviously family support was there, but you prioritize things, right? You prioritize things. You always know that you can start a company whenever you can, but at that moment I decided that my kids and my family were more important for me, rather
That's
than
great.
being an
Dr.
entrepreneur.
Ankita Lahoti is really lucky, and I would love to have her on the show and hear from her as well, her side of the story, whether it was good
Yes.
to have you 24/7 at home or not.
No, I was not 24/7 at home, but yes, I did. I was working. I was working whenever I could make. I could. I gave time to my family and my wife. Yes, so we pulled through then. But then I would say that that gave me a different perspective in life. It helped me mature a little bit more. Maybe if I would have started in 2015, the kind of growth we have had now would not have happened. So
True.
there are a few things which happened during when I started in 2018, 2019. Then I met my partner in business in 2019, 2020. Maybe if I would have started in
So the
2015,
timing,
maybe that,
yeah,
yeah, so you never know. So I firmly believe that there is a right place and time for everything, and you should always know what to prioritize then, though, because you don't want to miss out on the opportunities. So
Very
there is a lesson
valuable,
there. Yeah,
very
there is a
valuable
lesson.
lesson. I think it's
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
huge key
I agree.
takeaway for all of us. Manav, and I'm
Yes.
pulling this question again and again because Manav wants to know which COVID vaccine did
Wow.
you take and why.
Yeah, yeah. So I took Covishield actually. Yeah, yeah. I
Okay,
took
why?
because Covishield was yeah, it was basically an inert vaccine which was supposed to provide more immunity. The immunity which Covishield was supposed to generate was a more textbook point of view correct for me as a personal choice. But the data, anyways, I mean, was presented, which we actually came later on once we took the Covishield vaccine. So Covaxin was supposedly better than Covishield. Covaxin was supposedly better than Covishield, which was eventually proved in the data over a period of 1 or 2 years. But at the time when Covishield was launched, I was more concerned about the mechanism of action or how the Covishield vaccine was working. So it was a chemically inert virus, which generally should produce better immunity. So as per my analysis, I took that.
I waited for
But
the Russian chimpanzee. Any thoughts on that? Am I safe or am I not safe?
no, no,
Sputnik.
you are, yeah, you actually took Sputnik. Yeah.
I did. For some reason, and the Ukraine war hadn't happened by then, but for some reason I knew that there is something coming my way, so let me just wait. So how protected am I in your
No,
opinion?
no, yeah, Sputnik is also relatively very safe vaccine, and it is definitely produced immunity. The thing here is, COVID was so unpredictable that people who had vaccines also suffered or did lose their lives somehow, and
Yes,
those who were not being vaccinated also did not even have a single symptom to it, you know.
true.
So COVID was so unpredictable. So I generally feel basically a person should be healthy. The vaccine is going to help, but having a healthy and a positive outlook towards life is also going to help in this kind of a situation, because what happens is, being healthy, generally your underlying immunity is higher than the other people. Being healthy and being positive, your general immunity is higher than the other people, which eventually helps the people, to cope up or to react to medicines better. So eventually people
Right,
were just treating COVID symptomatically in the beginning. So there were many people who lost
right.
life. Basically, we were trying to ensure the oxygen was at optimum levels at all times. That was the basic target first, and to protect them from super infections or secondary infections.
True. So
So,
Sanket
so
wants to ask you, did you take the booster dose?
okay. So now I haven't.
We are tightening the news.
Yeah,
What
so
should
so
we
I
do?
I haven't I haven't taken the booster dose actually, because see, this is again a personal opinion as shares. I wouldn't see, this is, I'm not in a place to recommend whether you should take the booster or not, but I haven't personally taken the booster dose, because what happened is, after I took the vaccinations, I actually got COVID in the second wave. So I
Oh,
had COVID, so I thought that has provided me the booster immunity needed. So that's why I haven't taken the booster dose. But it's not something I would recommend to everyone, because, as I told you, everybody is having different immunity, different body types, different stress levels in their lives. So I would
right.
recommend having a healthy and a positive environment at home and healthy life to concentrate on your health. You should always take out time for your health and well-being, because that is something which I see many people lacking nowadays, including me sometimes. I mean, I try to make it a conscious decision that I do take care of my health. But
So
yes,
what do you
people
do?
do.
I mean, what is your de-stressing mantra?
I my de-stress. See, as I told you, I mean, my kids are one of my biggest stress busters actually. So seeing
Okay.
them grow, yeah, seeing them grow is a good stress busting thing for me. But yeah, generally 1 hour of exercise every day should be good enough. I generally
And
target that. I
and
generally
wife is
target.
adding to stress or taking away the stress?
Wife has always supported me, so she just takes out the stress.
Takes away the
Very, but
stress.
but it's not, nothing is 100%. Nothing is. I would say, so. It is not, nothing is 100%, but yeah, definitely I would say she takes away stress rather than giving me.
Most of the stress. Because
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have a lot of married people in the house. Let's be
yeah.
relatable
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I cannot say that it's all rosy, but yes, yes,
100
yes. She takes away most of my.
100% डॉक्टर अंकिता को आपने 100% स्ट्रेस फ्री बना दिया तो उनके पास लाइन लग जाएगी.
नहीं 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 वो she does take away most of my stress, but obviously in a marriage, in a things, in certain life happens to everyone, right? So yeah, there are stressful moments, but eventually both of us do try and help each other, by taking away our stresses, because both of us being doctors, she also has her own stress. She's dealing with patients and all, so we do try to do that. But yeah, it's a part and parcel. So I wouldn't say anybody is 100% okay in this. Absolutely.
So Rajesh Malhotra is saying, Dr.
Yeah, he's
D, Dr.
asking.
Neel is an expert in bioanalytical and bioequivalent
Bioequivalence
studies
studies, yeah.
with excellent knowledge technically. Please ask him questions on BABE studies. Wow, you know what, Rajesh? We explode, babe. And
Oh yeah, luckily he put the space in between. So yeah, it is
luckily,
BAB.
it's
Yeah. It is
yes.
not
And we
different
can,
study.
Rajesh, we can always have over a tea or coffee, like exclusive babe discussions with him later behind the screens.
Sure. Yes, 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 absolutely.
So
No,
we
no
have a
issues.
lot of, I'm struggling to keep up with a lot of engagement here. We have actually, the government should award you for your brilliant work. Wow.
I
Dr.
would like
Dolly
to.
is endorsing it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I would say, thank you, Dr. Dolly, for thinking so highly of me, and I really appreciate this comment from you. But yes, I would be really modest here because I'll tell you frankly, there are a lot of people working in this field. Lot of people doing good work here. So yes, we are doing our bit. I'm pretty sure that we are helping out people, and I'm pretty happy at this place where we are in. But I would say that there are many more deserving people rather than.
No, I'll give you the win and you should take the win because I always tell everybody, especially as a leadership coach, that a good leader, let it be any industry, is who can bring 35,000 feet conversations to 2,000 feet conversations. And we are building so much awareness today. The engagement is a testimony. I have people joining in from America right now because I know I
Wow.
have my partner and client Dave Buck here, and he's saying,
Right.
"Thank you for your commitment to make the world a safer
Yes,
and
yes.
healthier place."
Thank you
So we
so
are
much.
making sure that you're globally acknowledged and recognized for this.
That's great.
And
That's great.
I have my mom here saying, "Hope your hard work gets wider acknowledgement." Thanks, Dr. D, for highlighting Dr. Neel.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to thank Dr. D for this. But yes, yes, we are trying to do our bit, and hopefully, in the long run, things will take care of itself.
I'm pulling in a very interesting question from Rajat. Sir, as
Yeah.
of now, you're well established. Do you have any other goals in life which you want to achieve? So, what are your other
Right.
goals? I'm curious.
Yeah. So being, I would like to tell you, being an entrepreneur, one of the basic rules is never be satisfied with what you have. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. You should definitely enjoy what you have, but you should not be satisfied with it because there's always something more to achieve. So basically, we are established right now, but we still have a long way to go. As you know, that technology and innovation is always happening in all fields. We are still working to become cutting edge at our own craft. So as a CRO, as a contract research or clinical research organization, we are still trying to modernize ourselves, and we are always getting new and more challenging molecules or challenging work. So I would like to establish the expertise there. So and personally, I would like my kids to remain humble and know a lot of things to teach our kids also. So the life is not, it doesn't stop here. We are well established, but we still have a long way to go to become world class. I mean, I want to be an
Yeah.
organization which is globally recognized. We are doing work for US, Canada, and other countries, UK, China, Australia as well. But yes, but we want to be consistently and consistently excellent and be appreciated world over. So yes, this is a journey which I have taken, and being an entrepreneur is a beautiful journey. So you never know how it. You never look at the destination. You just enjoy the journey. That is how you will
True.
be, able to
True.
take up the challenges. Or you yourself also might be knowing that if you don't enjoy the journey, there is always the chance of
Without
failure.
passion, then you'll never be able to make it there.
Absolutely,
So
there's
are
a
you
chance of failure.
bootstrapped or are you invested?
No, we are bootstrapped currently. Yes,
So
we are
all my
bootstrapped.
network investors out there, would you be open to investment?
Yeah, if the right proposal comes through, why not? But currently we are bootstrapped and we are happy with the place we are in right now. Yeah.
Rafiq wants to know, do you
Yeah.
treat
Do you
yourself
treat yourself?
or do you go to the doctor?
So Rafiq ji, thank you for this question. But I would like to say that most of the times I treat myself because we do generally know the protocols. But yeah, sometimes if it is something which which actually impacts my well-being, which I want a third-party view, I generally go to other doctors. I go to other doctors because you want to generally consult the expert because some things you let the experts handle. That is how it is. But most of the times we take care of ourselves generally. Yes.
Interesting. Ruchi is
Yeah.
saying perseverance and hard work paid off. Congratulations. Amazing and such insightful conversation. Thank you for the validation, Ruchi.
Yeah, these are just relatives. Being happy with
So,
whatever I'm doing. So yeah. But yeah. I hope the general people also feel the same. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, as I told you, the family support is a big important
of course.
yeah,
And I
important
think
for these.
everybody needs validation, even as qualified as you. I'm sure compliments and validations are welcome. So,
Always well.
Hiren, a youngster is asking you, what makes you to take the clinical research degree? So, if youngsters who are watching the show, how can they
Yeah.
qualify? Can you tell us a little bit?
Right. So, Hiren, I'm not the typical clinical research degree holder actually because I was a MBBS doctor and I've completed my MD in clinical pharmacology and therapeutics. But for people of any life science graduate can go make a career in clinical research. Okay. So what you have to do is there are many multiple courses available which help you in clinical research, data management, pharmacovigilance, and statistics. So any life science graduate like BSc, MSc, BPharm, MPharm, these people are eligible to get into clinical research. They just have there are a few organizations who are giving postgraduate degrees and who are doing a lot of work for uh, uh, educating the children or the youngsters to get into the clinical research field. So you can always enter this field being a life science graduate. If you're not a life science graduate, maybe you can just go into statistics and then maybe enter. But most of the life science graduates have an easy entry into the clinical research field by doing a few bridge courses or doing a few postgraduate courses, diplomas. So it is possible.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is possible. Yeah.
And I'm guessing this field is growing, so there will be always a requirement for
Always
new
growing.
resources,
One of the
right?
one of the good places to be. Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Pharma
I
and
just I did
yeah,
I didn't realize that in the conversation flow we are almost hitting an hour. It didn't feel like it.
right,
And
right.
I interrupted you. You were talking about the pharma industry. You think there are new opportunities in years to come for a lot of
Yeah,
youngsters?
I do. As I just read this comment from Daily Draw, doing a great job for the country, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So I really, India is known as the pharmacy to the world. We have the technical expertise, we do have the technology now, and we are working on it all the time. And the beauty is, the Indian government is also supporting this in a terrific manner, and they are streamlining processes. So it is becoming easier for people to conduct the trials, and scientific base and scientific expertise is available. So I really think that pharma industry is going to grow in a long way, and eventually the world is going to flock to us for all their requirements in the pharma field,
I hope they
provided
do. My wishes
provided
and
our
all of
people,
our wishes.
yes, provided
Provided
our
our
people continue doing quality job. We don't want Indian jugaad anywhere,
absolutely.
but yes, providing our people are doing it, and I do really think that Indians genuinely are trying their level best in this, and we are doing well. There are a lot of people who are doing well in this.
We're doing well. Okay. So, what advice for new startups will you give?
Yeah. So new startups, I would like to give one biggest advice for any startup is never give up. There is always going to be a time when you are going to be relevant. Okay. See what happens in startups is everybody thinks that their idea is really great and it's really it's really life changing. It is generally life changing for that person, but maybe what is going to happen is you might be one of the other startups, or maybe see what happens is original ideas are very few and far between to tell you frankly.
True.
Okay.
True.
So generally, most of the ideas are some which are already there in the market. You're going to find people who are already there in the marketplace. The biggest idea here is to always never give up and try to differentiate yourself from your peers. That is how you will survive, and later on you can always go into the innovation. And obviously, if you have an innovative idea, anyways you're going to anyways you're going to be very successful. Like for example, WhatsApp or something, they became successful, but now there are so many apps like WhatsApp doing the rounds, taking away the subscribers. Then what is WhatsApp doing? It is trying to differentiate itself, trying to get in
Right.
new features. So you'll
Right.
always have to never give up and always be ready to innovate and be agile that way. You have to be very agile. You have to understand the innovation which is taking care of the industry, because disruption is everywhere. And I think Nokia was the biggest sufferer of disruption. Android came in and Nokia is gone. So we,
Fantastic case study. Yes, we
yeah,
all
so
have seen
we
that.
cannot. Yeah, so I mean, every person has suffered that. Actually, we all had, everybody's first mobile was generally Nokia, but I
Yes,
don't think anybody is using Nokia now. So they just miss the train, they just miss the bus. So you have to be
missed the
very,
bus, right?
yeah, you have to be very aware, agile, and ready to make changes, be adaptable, and never give up. Basically, your time is going to come, but you can never give up, but you have to constantly upgrade yourself so that when the opportunity comes, you are able to, grab it
So
and then go.
innovate, upgrade, and never give up. I think very valuable lessons, and I'm happy that you reinforced it, because as an entrepreneur, especially in current times, new normal has been tough on a lot of people.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
but who is your role model?
Yeah, that is what they're asking me. Now that is a question which that is
Or do you like
actually
different qualities from different people?
absolutely. It is not just one person who I am looking at, because there are multiple people who have done amazingly well in their lives. So I always try to pick up and taking qualities, imbibe qualities which will help me in the long run. So there are multiple role models, but if at all I would like to, I think Ratan Tata is an excellent example. Excellent example.
Excellent.
I mean, if I can contribute in any way Mr. Ratan Tata has done, nothing like it, because he is a world leader and he's gotten Jaguar Land Rover technology into Indian routine households through the Tata cars. And look at the revival Tata has, TCS. It's fantastic. I mean, the way Tata always gives back to the community. I mean, mind blowing. For me, Ratan Tata is one of my role models for sure. If at all I would like
Fantastic.
to,
I'm
yeah.
pretty confident a lot of leaders from Tata Group of companies are going to be watching this, and I'm going to reach out personally to a few people where we are going to send this bit to him, and I think he'll be
Okay.
very happy to know
Sure,
that
sure.
he's
For
your
sure.
role model.
Absolutely.
Uh, I think a very valuable question which I missed out. Dr. Ankita is saying people want to know what is exactly a CRO, and as I
Well,
understand, it's clinical research organization,
yeah,
right?
clinical, there are two ways people put it. It is a clinical research organization or a contract research organization. Basically, what CROs do is they are doing clinical trials, but they are generally not doing clinical trials for themselves. They are doing it for the pharma companies, for the sponsors or for the other people who are actually manufacturing the drug, who are actually innovating the drug. So they are
Okay.
generally contract research organizations or clinical research organization, as you can call them, because we are doing clinical research work. But sometimes it is a similar definition. So it just varies as per the role we are in. Generally, if you are
Right.
bidding for it, we'll be contract research organization. Generally, if you are conducting it, we'll be clinical research organization. So it's the
Wow.
same. Yeah.
Okay, and
So it's
Dave from America is asking, what advice can you give to help us better take care of ourselves?
yeah. I already told you that you should always you should always you should always dedicate some part of your time to your own well-being, right? So eventually everybody has their own commitments. We all work, we all have our families to take care of, we all have jobs, we all have companies, everything. But you always you should make sure that you take time to actually take care of your own selves, that you should invest some time in yourself.
Wow,
So that is where you're going to always, that is where you're going to find some kind of environment, or that is going to improve your quality of life for sure. I mean, I would let
interesting.
everybody, every startup person, every person who is starting up, or every person who is well established. I think the well established ones already know this. So I'm just telling it to the startup ones that you should invest some time in yourselves also. You always
That
have
is
the startup
lovely.
there. Yeah, that is the one important thing. So that is how you will upgrade your life eventually. And once you start investing time in yourself, you will know where you're lacking, right? Sometimes maybe it is a mental health, sometimes it is a physical health, sometimes it's an emotional quotient, whatever it is. Then you
Yes.
have to just work on those things. So eventually
And
you're going to,
coincidentally, Dave is a time consciousness leader. So
yeah,
he
perfect.
leads these coaching sessions, and you just hit the nail there and
Yeah,
invest time in yourself. And that is beautiful. So, what's your mantra for a healthy life? Other than health, let's talk about mental health. In current
yeah,
times,
yeah.
Dr. Lahoti, we have seen a surge of
Of mental
depression
health issue.
cases. Yes.
Yes, yes, we do, we
Suicide
do.
cases, we have data to support where people, right? And there
Yeah,
were multiple reasons in pandemic which contributed. For
yes.
somebody like you who's so sorted, who has everything, you're very humble, but I'm pretty
Uh,
sure how do you must be doing something to take care of your mental health. So
yeah, I
are
do, I
you,
do.
what do you do?
Yeah, so for me, my mental health comes from my spirituality. So
Okay.
I've always been very spiritual. And the other thing is, I generally, you do need a support system to fall back on. So you have to open up
Right.
to some people. So the major issue where people are suffering nowadays is because of this tablets and online, and everything is becoming online now. People are more invested in their mobiles than the conversation with a real person. So what is happening here is we are losing those family values. I remember people flocking to see Ramayana and Mahabharata that time. So it was like a family time. I remember
Family
during
time.
my when I was a child.
Chitrahar.
Yeah, Chitra. So it was like Rangoli, whatever. Yeah, so many things, right? So we knew that the family is going to get together for dinner. They're going to be seeing these things together. There used to be conversations. The kids used to ask their parents what their difficulties they're facing. Nowadays, the problem with the parents and the children basically all lies in communication. So I think communication is the biggest, for me personally. Okay, again, I would say it's a personal opinion, but I think if you increase the communication, if the people or the kids or even the adults can put across what is actually, making their lives miserable, or which is actually adding to the stress in their lives, there are solutions to everything. I firmly believe there is no problem which doesn't have a solution, because you call it a problem because it has a solution, frankly,
Wow.
or
So
you
well
just say it's
said.
a fact. Yeah, it just came up now. Yeah, but yeah. So you
You
call
should
it a
frame
problem.
this.
I should, I should make it my trademark or something, I guess. But you call it a
Exactly.
problem because you have a solution, or else it's just a fact. For me, it's just a fact. Okay. So if
Very
someone's,
well said.
yeah, yeah. So what we have to concentrate on is the problems, and if you can communicate those to the, as I said, I also consult experts whenever I feel like it. There are always people whom you can talk to, or who can provide you solutions. So you should always be open to taking advices, is where you will let go of a lot of stress that way.
A lot of introverted people find it difficult
Exactly.
to talk about their
Yeah,
feelings.
yeah.
And I think
Yes,
you've said something very valuable, and that can really take a lot of mental stress and emotional stress, relationship stress down for a lot of people. So,
yes, it can,
so
it can, for sure.
an
It will,
original quotation there. It will, for sure.
it will
So,
for sure. Has.
questions and feedback are still pouring in, but I know
Yeah,
I'm aware of your time constraint. But I
yeah.
wanted to do this rapid fire where I
Okay,
don't give you too much time to think.
that's
So,
fine.
are you ready?
I hope I'm ready. I don't know how the questions are going to be. So yeah,
Okay. So, favorite genre of music, ghazal or rock?
I would go for ghazals. Yeah,
Okay. Favorite leisure activity, would you like to play golf or would you like to go for a brisk walk?
golf, if at all. Yes,
Okay.
sports, any sport actually. I would prefer the sport rather than golf.
Between reading a book and listening to music, what would you do?
Reading a book, it's more soothing for me.
Is there any book that is inspiring you these days? Are you reading any book?
I'm
Are,
reading.
are you reading
I'm
your trials and your thesis?
No, no, I'm reading Atomic Habits. It is a book which impacts each habit. You just try to get better at each
Yes.
thing, even 1% at a time. That is how the concept is in the book. It's very interesting, and if you can implement it in your daily activities, I'm seeing changes. So maybe it will help other people. So Atomic Habits is what I'm reading right now. Yeah,
Wow, we can all pick up that copy and start reading it. Your
for sure.
belief
Sure.
is in destiny or karma.
Okay.
You can't think
Hello,
so
can you
much.
hear?
I
No,
can.
no. Destiny or karma. So I believe karma. Karma.
Okay. Beauty in your eyes.
Difficult choice. Difficult choice.
Yes.
But yeah,
I can see that we have some technical lag, but you can
yeah,
hear
I think
and
there is some.
you can hear me
Yeah,
clearly.
I can hear you. There's just
Okay, we hope it'll get fixed on its own. So, beauty
Yeah,
in your eyes is Aishwarya Rai or Sushmita Sen?
Aishwarya Rai.
Wow.
Aishwarya Rai. Yeah,
As a child, did you ever want to want or desire to be a pilot or an astronaut?
I did. I did. Yeah, astronaut. Actually, I'm named after one, right? Neil Armstrong. Yeah,
Exactly.
so I've been named after one. Yeah. So I did want to. I did want to become Neil Armstrong at one point. Yeah.
One word that you think describes you well, a word that is synonymous to your personality.
I would say cheerful, happy, outgoing. Yeah, cheerful. I'm generally happy most of the times. Yeah. So I do.
Between Hollywood or Bollywood, what movies do you like?
Right now it is Hollywood, but generally right now it is Hollywood because somehow Bollywood is not being spread.
No.
A
Your
little bit of
2
challenges there. Yeah.
and your 2 a.m. snack.
My 2 a.m. snack. Okay. It's generally ice cream.
Acha, that's
I
great.
crave for it. Yeah, yeah. Generally ice cream.
And
It's
my
available.
last,
So
it's available
you
always.
don't
And
have to
my
make
last
na. You don't have to work too hard for it. So yeah.
last question is, how common is common sense in your industry? I've been wanting to ask you this.
Right, right. Yeah. So common sense in any industry or any place right now is very uncommon, is what I am observing. So what is happening now? People are becoming too analytical nowadays. They want to solve things in such a manner. Generally, most of the problems are solved by common sense itself. But yeah, it is pretty uncommon nowadays. And I try to simplify things down. Generally when I approach things, I always try to, even if it's a technical issue, I just try to think in a common sensical manner how this would have worked out, and then you go to the technical part. If generally problems are solved by common sense most of the time, at least 50% of the
At
times.
least 50%, right? Dr. Neil, it's been a pleasure to
Thank
be
you.
in conversation with you. Just time just flew by, and I'm very sure that everybody enjoyed. And this interview is going to go places because everybody is going to watch it over and over again. I'm going to push it across the globe. And I
Thank you.
sincerely hope that your efforts will be rewarded in tangible, intangible ways. I look
Thank you.
forward to a continued association with you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I would definitely like to remain associated because you are touching on topics which are really, really relevant, and you are letting people, express themselves not on a official manner, but in a semi-official kind of a way. So it reaches out to a lot many people. So fantastic, and kudos to you
Yeah.
for thinking about this, and
Thank you.
I wish you all the best for it. And I really thank you again, and I appreciate the efforts taken by your team. And I again thank the people who were interested in this and were asking many questions. So that's good enough. They were engaged.
So, to all our audiences, if you have more questions, I know I missed out on a few. I'm going to try and get those answers from Dr. Neil, and we'll make sure that my team posts it on the YouTube. Please do subscribe, Dr. Neil. Can you please
Yes.
endorse my
Yeah,
YouTube
I
channel?
would. I would actually. I have already done that. I've already done that. But yes, I request everyone to please subscribe and look at the conversations Dr. D has had with other leaders also, because there is a lot of insight there for you and for each one of us. So definitely you should subscribe to her, and looking forward to many more engaging conversations, which I'll be able to see in the future.
Have a wonderful weekend and enjoy your Saturday evening here in India. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much. I wish a happy weekend to you and all the viewers who are watching, and fantastic time I had here, and wish you all the best in the future as well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bye, Dr. Neil.
Bye bye. Take care. Bye.
Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed this show because I really had a delightful conversation with Dr. Neil. Clinical trials were actually unpacked for all of us. And I think we understand the process better and all the hard work that goes on behind the scenes. I will be continuously finding such authentic leaders from different industries that we can bring forth to you, and you can engage with them, learn from them, and also be inspired to be more innovative in your own sphere of life. Stay in touch with me, stay connected. I'm there on all social media. This is the D Show, and I'm Dr. Divya Jetli, wishing you all lots of good health, lots of good spirit, and of course, a happy weekend. Please take care. Bye bye. Good night.